Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh my goodness, it has been storming all night here in Northwest Florida area to the point where I went out almost like a bad seed. The bad seed kid goes out. I go out and receive all of my. Oh, thank you, sir. I have
You're welcome.
somebody that's leaving now who fixed my air conditioning. Thank you.
You're
Have a
welcome.
safe trip now.
I'll put
Thanks.
it on 74 for you.
That's
So,
good.
all right. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
So I've been multitasking, but anyway, I went out at like 3:30 this morning, pulled all the plants into the house in the little area, the little entrance area, and I was thinking, they're gonna beat them up. They won't be any good. Well, I'm good now. I put them back out there. The gentleman came to fix my air conditioning, which broke on well, I turned it on Monday, so it's been all week that it's been really hot, and it's been 89 and 90 degrees in this area lately. So it's supposed to cool down for Mother's Day, and so I said, you know what, I have to do something on Mother's Day to speak to mothers, the importance of mothers. It can't be shouted enough. You know, I just always remember my mother being the coolest lady ever. And I'm quite sure you think that about your mother, but my mother, my mother was someone who loved to dress, who always had a certain swag and style about her. But she cussed. You know, I'm straightforward with that. She was a cussing woman. But you know, I didn't pick it up. I know some of the other kids did, but I was not one to pick it up as much as the other ones. But we always just remember she was the best cook. The I mean, she could make homemade food taste like better than any food you've ever had in your lives, and I'm quite sure you all can speak to that. Hey, Big Mo, you can speak to that under that that understatement, because it's understatement if I'm talking about my mother. It's going to be under what you think about your mother. But my mother was a great cook. Cooked everything from homemade mac and cheese, and you know, she would always make cakes by hand, where she didn't use any hand mix, any electric mixer. Every once in a while she did, but for the most part we heard her, watched her, seen her doing her thing, and it was always good to watch her do it. And I learned how to cook from my mother, even though she wouldn't let me cook until she came to my house, my apartment, in after I had gone off to grad school. I went and picked her up and brought her to my house to eat, and she was like, "You know how to cook?" I did. So, good morning, Erica and Maurice. Let's talk about moms. Let's talk about the mothers that we have or had, because not all of us still have our mothers. What are you going to do for your birthday Monday? I don't know. I really have no idea what I'm going to do for my birthday on Monday, but it is another birthday. It's just another opportunity for me to continue to telling God, thank you for letting me see the years, you know, that they haven't really worn me down yet. Thank the Lord. But I'm hoping that I'll have something good to eat. I'm going to dress up on my birthday. I'm going to look good because my mother would have done that. So when I was coming up, my mother, the interesting thing, good morning, Miss Rosie. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that are on, or if your mother's still living, or your mother's gone on to glory, happy Mother's Day, wherever they are, in or outside the universe that we know of. My birthday always fell near Mother's Day, so we never really. If I got a Freihofer's cake, now let me tell you something. Freihofer's was the best cake ever. You know, when they closed down, they used to have like a horse that used to be on screen and everything. Every time you saw it, it was always advertised with the horse and that was delivering these wonderful cakes. Well, my folks always made sure we had a cake. They would go to the store and pick up the cake in the color that I wanted, or my mother would make a cake. Sometimes we had two. But anyway, I'm just making a sense. That's as much as I got for my birthday, maybe a little gift, but for the most part, Mother's Day was always the big day in the house. I don't care whose birthday was near it, because my brother Eddie, my brother Bob, and myself, we were all born around, Mother's Day. But Mother's Day took out. It took us all out. It won everything. So let me talk a little bit about mothers. It says, these are some quotes that I found by some famous people. It says, "Everything good to me I got from my mother." That was by Honey Century. And it says, "A mother is the truest friend we have." That was from Washington Irving. The Golden Girls said, "It's not easy being a mother. If it were, fathers would do it." I kind of like that one. This one is cute. Moms are like buttons. They hold it all together. Are we not? Are we not? I just remember when things were going bad, if I'd go to my mother and talk to her about how to approach something, she always had a solution. Now I didn't say she didn't cuss when she was giving me a solution, but she always had a solution that would work out the issue good, to a good solution. Anyway, this is the last one. It says, "One of the most important relationships we'll have is a relationship we have with our mothers." And that was Iyanla Vanzant. So what do you say? If you were to speak about your mother, what would you say using some of the words that we're going to use in mother? And, are you stuck about it? Did you have a good relationship with your mother? I still talk to my mother, even though she's gone. I talk to her, even when she was getting sick and moving on to, meet her destination in glory, I would still continue to speak to my mother as if she could hear me. And as she was moving closer to her leaving here, she hadn't spoke in weeks. And all of a sudden the nurse said, "She's speaking and she's calling Sandra." Well, you could not call me Sandy or San or Winnie or any of these other names. My mother called me Sandra. That was it. So, I remember we were in a hotel because we were visiting that area of New York where my mother lived in. And I went by myself to the hospital, and she said, told me what she wanted me to do. I told her I'd take care of it. So that bond that we had was our bond. Mothers and their children should have relationships that are meaningful. It says, "Marvelous, outstanding, mine." I bet. Because, you also have to look at the product. The product is us. So if our parents, instilled something in us. I had a great dad too. Don't get me wrong. My mother was stellar. My dad was also stellar. That the two of them together, they stood us up right. Because my mother would always say, "You're not in jail. You're not homeless. We're not on public assistance." She would always make us remind us of what we had versus what we could have had, or what we could have gone without. So anyway, there it is. So a mother, what is a mother? According to Merriam-Webster, a mother is in relation to her child or children. She's a female parent, biological mother. Now they have other mothers, okay? They have the birth mother, the foster mother, the adopted mother, the stepmother, the surrogate mother. This says the matriarch, the mama, the ma, the mammy, the old dear, old lady, and mommy. Okay, for some reason we called our mother mommy. What did you call your mother? Write it in there. Did you call her mom, mommy, ma? Some families had a grandmother living with them like we did. So we called our grandmother Big Mama, and we called our mother mommy. The younger ones did. The older ones called her by her first name because she had them biologically while she was, really young and still growing up. My mother, I think, was married by the time she was 15. So, that was her time, that's what they did. Princess, hey, Princess, good morning. Happy Mother's Day to you, too. Weekend to you. Be beautiful. You be beautiful, too. I love you, girl. And thank you for stopping in today. So we're talking about mothers, and even if you don't come worry about my birthday, my mother and your mother are important. They are important. If they're still here, that's beautiful. If they've gone on to glory, that's also beautiful because you know that they were up there. So when I start out, what did you call your mother? It says your hair is pretty. Oh, thanks. Thank you. That's my daughter. Okay, I can get her to do after we fuss a little bit. Okay, the way I want it versus what she thinks. Then all of a sudden she gets it right and she got this right. Thank you so much. I'll let her know. She'll be excited about that. It says so you called her Ma. I called my mother Mommy. We called our mother Mommy. The last four children did. We all called my mother. My mother had 10, so I'm the 10th. And we all called her Mommy, the last of us. But anyway, when we break the word down today, I have for my M, I have that she is memorable. I will always remember my mother. Always. There's nothing as I think about her every single day. Either something reminds me, maybe it's a dish that I'm having, or it's something that I'm wearing. It might be throwback to a style that she would put on. And, the shirtwaist dresses are back in. My mother was the shirtwaist queen because she had a cinched waist and she could wear stuff that just always looked good. And she had the cute little legs. You would never see my legs. I didn't get those. I didn't get my mother's legs. But anyway, I have small legs and big thighs. So, that's already looking like chickens. But anyway, it talks about the mother. For me, memorable is my M, and it says worth remembering or easily remembered, especially because of being special or unusual. That was my mother. I thought she was just so special. It says that when someone is memorable, they're also unforgettable. They're catchy. There's something haunting about them. They're indelible. They're not or never to be forgotten. There's a signal that comes over you and you remember them. It says they're special, they're momentous, significant, historic, notable, noteworthy, important. I gave you it all, didn't I? I tried to. Impressive and distinctive. When we think about mothers, it's going to conjure up some ideas about who we know, of what we were able to live with, to see, to experience with the mothers that we were given. I will do the same thing for fathers too on Father's Day. I will make sure that I do that. So for me, that's what my mother's were. If you were to write an M, what would you say about your mother? What would you say about her? Some people may not have very many memories of their mother because their parent may have passed on before they really had great memory about life, and what they were experiencing. If I move on in my word, my O for mother is optimistic. My mother was an optimist. She always would say, give it to God, he will work it out. Give it to God, he will work it out. True. It's true. I felt that that's the way I was raised. And sometimes when I'm at my lowest low, if I turn and I say, okay, God, I'm going to have to give this to you. It's too heavy for me. It's too heavy. So my mother was an optimistic person. She believed in doing the right thing and expecting the right outcome. Even if it wasn't what you wanted, sometimes the right outcome is what you got. Good morning, Adelia. Good morning, Gloria Clay. Birthday girl. Gloria and I, our birthdays are close by, so we love each other. But anyway, good morning, everybody. Today our word is mother. So we did memorable for me, for my M, and for my O, I had that my mother was optimistic. And it says that hopeful and confident about the future. She just never worried about things that she said were out of her control. Sometimes we as mothers, I'm being in truthfulness, I don't always feel the optimistic approach. I'm pessimistic, or I'm down about what I want for either my daughter or myself. However, with time, I eventually turn back around and say, but mom said, give it to God. be optimistic about it. It will be all right. And eventually it is. So for me, I used optimistic because that was my mother. And it says that she was cheerful and cheery and positive with cussing. Okay. Confident. My mother was a confident woman. Hopeful. It says bullish at times, because if there was something about she felt was needed by her children, for her children, you better step over, out the way, get out the way. Buoyant, bright, always expecting the best. That was her. Full of hope, full of hope, upbeat, of good cheer. It says encouraging. My mother was an encourager. Now, she may take you down a minute just to bring you back up, because she's going to remind you what you've been through. And sometimes what you've been through is where your hurt is. But then she'll bring you back up, and all of a sudden, you're back up where you need to be. It says, but she's also promising and rosy and has a favorable outcome. That was my mother. Is that your mother? Was that her? My T, as I move on in mother, the word of mother, my T, my mother was tough. I told you she cussed, but she would tell people off all the time. And she would do it in such a way. And then she'd say, now you have a good day. It's hard to be told off, okay? And then turn around and tell them to have a good day. Because you may have messed up their day. As Tabitha Brown says, don't be messing up anybody else's day just because your day is bad. My mother, when she hit that, what I would say, that fault line where it's not my fault, but your fault, you get ready to get it. It was getting ready to get it. So my mother was a tough woman. And it says, tough, being strong enough to withstand adverse conditions or rough or careless handling. They understand the terrain. They're not worried about it. Bring on the rain, bring on the storm, but I got this going. And so it says that the tough people transformed. Ooh, tremendous. Yes, my mother was tremendous too. Thank you, Joan. I have tough being, it says that they're durable. I'm going to ask you, was your mom durable? Mine was durable. Strong, resilient, resistant. We never knew anything that was going on negatively because my mother gave us cover. She never, I never seen my mother cry, except she shed some tears when we buried my dad. But other than that, never did. She was just, and I know she's just like any other woman or any other mother. What we bear, sometimes we bear quietly. What we go through in a silent place, a closet, our beds, whatever. We may wet our pillows at night from crying, but no one needs to know that. That's between ourselves and God, or ourselves. We don't let everybody know that when they see us, that we're not as tough as we can be. We try to be. So anyway, it also talks about this tough person being sturdy and rugged and firm. I had people laughing last night when we went to choir rehearsal about the things my mother would and would not allow us to do. One of the things we couldn't do was sit on the edge of the bed. So every time when I went away to school, I couldn't wait to sit on the edge of my bed, only because at home we could not do it. Good morning, Cheryl. How are you, sweetie? Today our word is mother. We're talking about our mothers and the relationship that we, had with them. I started off with the fact that my mother brought memories. So she was memorable. She was optimistic. And now I'm on my T, which says she was tough. And as I said in choir rehearsal, we were talking about, what our mothers would and wouldn't let us do. And I said, one of the things is, we couldn't go to other people's houses and act like we were starved. We couldn't accept a thing. And then when we leave, she said, they can't cook anyway. We would be, we're kids. So we wanted that cake. We wanted that cookie. We wanted what we were seeing. But my mother said, don't ask. And if they ask you, it's no thank you. So that's what we did. So she was tough. It says they're also sound or stout. This is they're Indestructible, that was my mother. Unbreakable, hard, rigid, stiff, inflexible. Sometimes she was real inflexible. My father would sometimes come to the door. He said, "Is your mother on the warpath?" We say, "Yeah." She get on. He said, "Don't tell her you see me. I'll be back in about 30 minutes." He said, "Let that calm down." It says, "Girl, yes. It even had to uh to come home to use the bathroom." Yep, us too. Us don't use nobody's bathroom. We don't sell nobody's toilet. Nope, we don't eat anybody's food. You don't do any of that. So, and then we had like time for being in the house. Like there was a time for being in the house. So if you saw the street light, you better be in the house, not on the stoop, anywhere. And then during the day, if you went off the stoop, you only had like, New York City blocks, not downstate, not in the city itself, but the upstate still had these huge blocks. So you have a lot of distance between like the way the sidewalk was kind of measured out. And she said you can only go from here to here. That was it. She wanted to be able to see you. If she looked out that window, you better be visible. That's how the story played out. Good morning. Good morning, Polly. How are you doing? Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers that are on here. But yes, today our word is mother. We're talking about mother and the fact of their importance in our lives. I started out with saying that they're memorable, they're optimistic, they're tough. My mother was tough. I'm quite sure I got stories that you all know. Your stories probably are similar. Even when we went to people's houses and they had, you go in the house that had plastic furniture. I mean, plastic covering on all the furniture. Raise your hand. I know we did. We had plastic furniture and nobody could sit on that furniture, even with the plastic on it, unless my mother said so. Happy Mother's Day to all bodies. That's cute. Thank you, Polly. So anyway, we just understood how they worked. They worked their business the way they worked their business. When we move on in the word, it says, "My H is for my mother was helpful." She was a helpful woman. She helped everybody, even though she was tough with her kids. If somebody was needing something, my mother used to actually make extra food and feed people who was coming off of the railroad tracks. And that was even though it was a walk up, because there was like this ramp. There was this huge ramp that everybody would walk up from Broadway, and they'd walk up this ramp. And my mother was saying, "Are you hungry?" And she would literally give them a plate of food. She'd give them the plate, the fork, everything. "Take it with you. I don't want it back." And she'd give them something to drink, water or whatever. And she let them have the cup. But that was my mother. So hilarious. Yes, she was hilarious. She really was. She was also honest. And I bet you all can say the same thing about your mother. So I know my mother was a giving soul. So giving, helpfulness says it's giving or ready to give help. Accessible, it says that they are applicable, conducive, constructive is what I was trying to say, convenient, cooperative, crucial, essential, favorable, friendly, important, invaluable, and practical. That was my mother. That's my mother. That's a lot of words. Humble. Ooh, come on now. Come on now. Humble is really good. Hospitable. Yes, that's it. Lily was helpful, but she was also hospitable, and she'd watch you like a hawk. You came up in there near kids. She didn't let you stay up in there, but we only had enough room for us. But when we had company, like her sister and her brother that would come out of Detroit to visit, and her daughter, that the children would get out of their beds, but they didn't. Everybody else was fine, but they'd make us pallets on the floor. Y'all remember the pallets on the floor? Hey, that came from Lily. That was my mother's name, Lily. What's your mother's names? Write your mother's names down. My E in my mother word today is for efficient. My mother could take a meal and stretch it, just like it was done in the Bible. 5 loaves of bread. That was my mother. Because we would always think when we had Thanksgiving dinner, my mother would have the table for the adults and then the table for the children. And we'd always think, well, they're going to feed us first. No, she just made smaller portions for our table, and she put, our plates, made our plates and put all our food there. And, and my mother knew every one of her children, every single one of us. Efficient. She was efficient. Would they say? Mildred. Okay, Mildred and Helen. Okay, Mildred and Helen. My mother was efficient to the point where everybody was served, all the children were served, and she even gave us like a little corner of David and Manischewitz wine. She gave us a little bit of that, just saying that we all toasted together. My dad gave a toast and a prayer. My mother would pray, or they'd do it by either way. And that's how we started off our Thanksgiving. But we had our own little table, and the grown-ups had their table. And my mother knew she was efficient because she knew what I would and would not eat. I didn't just become fussy eater. I've always been, Don't let my food touch. I can still eat in a plate designed for children to this day. Only because it's all separated. I know everybody says, but it all gets together down. That's okay. Okay, it's going to have to get together down there. Annie Bell, and people called her Ann. My mother's name was Lily. Well, it was really Lily, but they called her all of her life Lily Mae until she had to do some work. I had to do some work with her, and we sent away for her birth certificate and found out it was Lily and not Lily Bell. They had been calling her Lily Bell for years. Well, she felt, I'm in New York and that's country, so don't call me Lily Bell. So after she found out that she wasn't Lily Bell, oh my God, she made a big stink about that Lily Bell stuff. But anyway, when people are efficient, it says there's a methodical way they do things, systematic. They're systematic, they're structured. My mother was structured. When we had to go to bed, you went to bed. When you had to get up, you got up. Wasn't all of that, hit the clock and no. One time. That was it. Shower, baths and all that kind of thing. Everything was regimented. So it says well-planned, logical, coherent. She was all of those things. Well-regulated, well-run, well-ordered, orderly, businesslike. My mother was almost business when it came to what was expected of each of the kids, when things had to be done, and where everybody was in the process. And she knew it. It says my aunt's name was Lila Mae. Okay. She said their names were country. That's right. Same thing. My mother said the name was country. She didn't like it. And having this whole thing of them being efficient, also said they knew how to streamline things. My mother knew how to organize everything, even Christmas and birthdays and celebrations and stuff. Everything was done in an orderly fashion. That's where I learned a lot of my approach to order. Having a beginning, a middle, and the end. That is not down here, but my mother kept it high, that everything had to look nice, be complete. If it's something to eat, it had to taste good. If it was something to wear, it had to look good. Because my mother would say, that Pelham is not supposed to be sitting up there like that. And the Pelham is the dresses that fit at the waist and then fall away from the waist. That's a peplum. And she would get all upset if mine was up too high in the back. It's just who she was. Because she was sharp. She wanted us to be sharp as well. She hated anything that was too short, So we went around and around. Because, there was a period of time when everything was short and shorter. And she didn't like her daughters doing that. So we had to be modestly dressed. I remember, and I tried to remind her of this when we were coming along, is, there was these boots. And of course I got stuff that was passed down to me from my sister Shirley. and things that were passed down were too big for me. And one of the things that was also passed down, she passed down my brother Ronnie's boots. Well, Ronnie's had small feet, but the boot itself would wrap around my legs. So when I walked, it would form these black rings around my legs. So when I got to school, I would look horrible. So the other kids would laugh at me and stuff. So I got to the point where I would take off I would wear socks, just socks in my boots, just socks. And then my feet would get cold and wet. I'd end up that I know that's how I ended up with a lot of colds. I would end up cold and wet. And then when I got to school, I would take some other shoes and put on some sneakers or something, but they were also wet because I had nothing to carry them in. You know, I'd call myself trying to conceal them, but I wasn't good at it. I wasn't good, but it was what it was. Um, but anyway, she denied that. She said that didn't happen. Okay. That was a memory I had, a childhood memory, yes. But the last thing I have for mother is that my mother was realistic. She was real. I knew her. I used to love to come and just sit up under my mother, and my mother always had wonderful skin. You would touch my mother's skin and it felt like butter. And she would always say, "Get back, move, girl," and I had those buttery arms too, but my arms aren't as thin as hers. But I have that same buttery kind of arm that she had, and I have to search for it because you can only get it with certain lotions. The lotion and Vaseline. My mother was a Vaseline girl. I am too. Exceptional. That's cool. That would be a great word for understanding who our mothers were. They are exceptional if you had a good relationship with them, and even if you didn't have a good relationship with your mother, the fact that they birthed you, that to me is exceptional. That's a beauty. That's the beauty of what birthing does. In fact, Monday I'm going to do one on generational. That's my Monday topic, just to talk about the fact that with birth comes all these different things. So being realistic, is the last letter I used from my mom. I said having or showing sensible and practical ideas at what can be achieved or expected. I can tell you that my mother had high expectations for me, always. If my dad lived, it probably would have never have be doing what I'm doing now, because my mother had terra firma ideas. You will keep your feet on the ground. You will not be a singer. And I had so many opportunities to be. I was classically trained as a vocal student, singing beautiful, songs. But it wasn't my speed once I got to college, and I changed up, and that's how you sometimes get switched up. But after I finished school, there were some Broadway auditions that my vocal coach wanted me to go for. My mother said, "Nope, can't go to that." Now, mind you, I'm 22, but I still believed enough in what she said that I would use music as my side, thing, but not as my straightforward, on point area every day. And reality is it's probably the best thing to do, because I couldn't have stood a life of hurt and disappointment and rejection and all those things that come with some of the stories you hear from people who made it eventually in music or in that industry of entertainment. But to be realistic, I have that they're practical, they're pragmatic, they're matter of fact, they're down to earth. Is this not Lily? Sensible. It says rational, logical. If it didn't make sense to her, don't do it. I mean, there were people coming to her telling her story. She said, and then she'd ask them a question, does that make sense to you? Does it? They would just say, well, Miss Lily. She said, no, it doesn't make sense. Think it out. Think out the process of that. Realisticness also talks about being reasonable, level-headed. Sometimes when we're young, we're not always as level as we should be. We use other things, our hearts and other areas, just thinking that we can manage what it is that we want to do. Realistic also talks about it being clear-sighted, excuse me, hard-headed, because that's what realistic people do, business-like, sober, you know. A lot of times people that are realistic are unromantic. They're just a matter of fact. It is what it is, you know. And it says they could be unsentimental. I find my mother was not the hugger that I am. You know, I would definitely give hugs and kisses on cheeks and stuff, but my mother did that more as she got older. But prior to that, my mother felt that she was more it was more necessary for her to be protective of her children, because my dad died, and she was just protective of us. She wasn't letting nothing come near us. My mother was an attractive woman, and she wasn't even dealing with nobody coming to the house. Oh no, you can't come here. And I'm not interested in coming where you're at. I have my children to take care of. That's how she felt about us. We became her first. After my dad left, we became her first. But reliable is a great word. My mother was also reliable, Joan. But anyway, I know that this is one of those subjects that we could go on forever and ever to talk about when we think about the mothers that we have. But I know that I had a good one, and I appreciated her so much, because what I learned from her is invaluable. What I learned from her is how to live my life and also be a good mother, to be able to make every attempt to talk to your children and be there in their hours of need, encouraging them, teaching them things like understanding money, and that money can come in quickly and leave even quicker than it came in. Also teaching them the importance of character and understanding their own resilience and their own value and their worth. That's what a mother is going to do, because she loves you. She wants other people to see the love that she's instilled in you, for you to have the love of yourself and therefore able to give love. If you can receive love, you have to be able to give it. Reader, oh, that's a great word. My mother only had an 8th grade education, Joan, but she could read anything. But she grew up in the portion of the South that for her being Black, in America at that time, there was no other opportunity. She was only given an 8th grade education, she and my father. But they were probably, if they had had an opportunity to go on to school, they would have probably been teachers or certainly people who had a great command of the language and can do what they could do. It says your love for your mom always shows. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. Thank you, Gloria. Look. I love you guys. Happy Mother's Day to each of you who are mothers. And if your mother has gone on to glory or they're still here, show your mother some love. Even if it's, sending up love to the clouds and talking a minute with them just to say, you know what, you did all right. I'm doing fine. You did all right in what you gave me. I'm really happy and pleased for that. That's what I'm going to do. But also make it an opportunity for you to go on out there and show other mothers who are still here. They may not be your mother, but they are a mother. Treat somebody well. I have a couple of people I'm going to treat well. Come Sunday, I'm going to do something special for them. But I love each of you. I thank you so much for coming. Appreciate you greatly. If you don't do anything else, there's no money required here. But if you would hit that share button, then other people will know that there's somebody out there that cares about them, and getting it to the point where you say, hey, are you stuck? Not really. I can discuss it. I can discuss it with Dr. Winnie and all those who come online. Love you guys. Thank you very much. Love you guys. Thank you. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Princess, Polly, everybody that came on today. Miss Rosie, Gloria, everybody. Mo. Have a great day. Cheryl. Love you guys. Be safe. Enjoy. Bye-bye.